Excellent. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and all of you potential Toastmasters out there today. Welcome to the show. This is Wake Up with Toastmasters from District 115 in Southern Nevada and Southern Utah as well, up as far as Cedar City. Hopefully you are getting ready to go vote today, because today we have a very, very special guest, and we're going to talk about how Toastmasters builds community and helps create responsible citizens. And to help us with that, I have Carol Wyman, who is in Washington, D.C. right now, at the seat of our democracy. Carol is a member of the U.S. Senate Toastmasters Club, which this year is celebrating 50 years. Is that right, Carol?
50 years.
Oh, wow, that's terrific. She's also a member here in Nevada of Lambda Linguists. So welcome, Carol. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Ken. Thrilled to be here.
Well, you know, I have to say I love your background. That's just perfect.
It's election day. Everybody's going to show up and vote and make a decision. I
know, and you know, you and I have talked before. I am an avid follower of politics. I study politics. I study policy. I look at the issues very, very carefully. You know, and I have my wish list of things I'd like to see our Congress and our president do. But nothing is more important, regardless of your perspective, than getting out to vote. And you did a little talk on how Toastmasters helps to create community. I'd like to learn more about that. Can you elaborate on your thesis there? It's like college. Tell me about your thesis.
Thanks, Ken. I'm glad to talk about my thesis. And it's actually my reason for being involved in Toastmasters, both in Washington, D.C. at the U.S. Senate, but also in Nevada. So I work for Senator Catherine Cortez Masto. I'm a Senate staffer. I should say that these are my own thoughts and I don't represent the senator. And I rejoined the Senate Club because I wanted a way to build community among Senate staff and the community around us. We're an open club, and we have, we as Senate staffers, you know folks in your office and you know folks on the committee that your boss serves on that you staff, but getting to know people around the Capitol is kind of difficult. So this was a way to kind of build a connection, learn different things about Senate staffers. And it's been great. If you've seen the Women's History Quarters, that was a Toastmaster project. When Senator Cortez Masto was looking for a Republican co-lead, one of my colleagues in Toastmasters, I pitched him on it. And he's like, yeah, we can do that. So it was a Cortez Masto Fisher. And now you've got Anna Mae Wong and Wilma Mankiller and Nina Otero Warren quarters. So that was a Toastmaster project, which was a great thing. Barbara Boxer initiated the bill. I mean, not Barbara, Barbara Lee in the House with Mr. Gonzalez led that bill in the House, and it was her idea. And we pushed it through in the Senate with our version. And then when COVID happened, I thought, well, let me go online and get to know constituents in Nevada. It's a way to meet people. I can't travel to Nevada, at least at that point because of COVID, but I can talk to a lot more people. And I've joined many, many different clubs. And I found that Toastmasters is a way to see other people as equals, learn things about other people. And that's been one of the great things that I find about Toastmasters. One of the more influential books I've ever read by Amartya Sen, Identity and Violence, talks about when a community or a country is you're seeing more violence, you're seeing more division. You want to have cross-cutting identities. So instead of people thinking of themselves as one tribe or one religion or one party or one ethnicity, you want multiple identities. So yes, I might be white, I might be Jewish, I might be a lesbian, but I'm also a Toastmaster. I also am a basketball fan. I'm in the garden club, just different identities and different ways to connect. And I think Toastmasters was one of the best ways to do that.
Yeah, I'm reminded that listening to you reminds me of a course I took in college many, 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 many years ago. It was back in the days when we just had candles. We didn't have electricity, but I'm kidding. It wasn't that long ago, but it was a while ago. And one of the things we talked about, and this was a philosophy course, is our different roles and how our behavior is shaped by those roles, and our sense of community is shaped by those roles. And I appreciate the fact that we sometimes get boxed in and close ourselves off to new ideas, to thinking that is different from our own. And I agree with you. One of the things I love about Toastmasters is the diversity that we have. We're so lucky, particularly in the environment where we have hybrid meetings, and we can have people from all around the world join us and learn about different cultures and different ways of looking at things. To me, that is one of the real values of Toastmasters. I mean, I love Toastmasters for a lot of reasons. It's the educational aspect, lifelong learning, the friends that you make. But I think that the diversity helps to broaden your perspective and hopefully get you out of your own little bubble.
That's true. Toastmasters really does help build a social solidarity, a trust, a genuine equality. And I like how you talk about you get stuck in your role, because you can't do that in Toastmasters. Every week you're in a new role, you're giving a new speech. You might be an officer, vice president of public relations, and then a year later you have a different role. And so you're always changing and you're always learning from other people.
Yeah, and I think once you take on the challenge of leadership outside the club and get involved in district leadership as either an area director or division director or what have you, you expand your horizons. Because I know I'm program quality director, so I'm in charge of training, and I just love visiting other clubs as much as I can. I don't get to do it as much as I'd like, but it's such a learning experience. And the nice thing about Toastmasters is we have our core, what I think of as our core curriculum, where we are going to do prepared speeches, we're going to do impromptu speeches, and we're going to do evaluations. But the way we do it and the things we add on to make each club unique is just an astonishing variety. And it is so interesting to go and learn from other clubs. What sort of traditions do you have in your Senate Toastmasters? And then I want you to talk about Lambda as well.
All right, well, because we've been around for 50 years at the Senate Club, that we don't have the no politics rule. We don't, I mean, that's not a Toastmaster rule. Some people think it is, but it's not. We really encourage people to use the club to benefit themselves in whatever way they want. So if you have a new bill that you're working on and you want some practice talking about it, we're a place you can do that. If you're going to be you're a supervisor, one of the things that Senate and House staffs are very thin. So there's not a lot of time for really quality management, because you're got 35 agencies and 5 hearings and all these things you have to keep up with, and to try to mentor someone, it's hard. So when you join Toastmasters as the Senate or House staff or anybody, you're taking charge of your own mentoring. There's a rigor within Toastmasters. There's an infrastructure to give you feedback. And you learn how to be a better manager as well, because you hear a speech and then you're giving an evaluation of that speech, and you're going to be evaluating all different types of people, older, younger, different ethnicities, different religions. We also talk about the content. When you give a speech, we'll say, your arguments, I wasn't convinced of your arguments. Or the people that you cited are people that I'm not sure I agree with. So I think they're more propaganda than actual factual information. So I think all of those things in our clubs, both clubs really focus a lot on evaluation and helping people improve as speakers and as thinkers.
I like the fact that the club is open to political differences and political speeches. You're right. In Toastmasters, we sort of have as off limits religion or politics. We don't like to talk about those things because we don't want to have the meeting or anything devolve into a shouting match. But I think if you know that going in, that we are going to talk politics or we are going to talk religion, but we're going to be respectful in the way that we do it, then that's kind of the best case scenario in my mind, is let's talk about the issues upon which we disagree and let's analyze your arguments. I love the fact that you mentioned, in your evaluation, well, that doesn't really, your facts are not supported, or your case is not supported by the facts, I suppose I should say. I really appreciate that. I think that does help us to think more critically and to, again, think out. I hate the term "think outside the box," but it's one of those cliches that it's so pervasive that it's hard to come up with something that we can replace it with. We'll have to put that out in the universe and see what can we change instead of think outside the box.
And I do, most clubs I've been at have never had a no politics rule. It's just once in a while, but I just don't think you can believe in democracy unless you believe in politics. And I think the people who decide, well, this is political, are the folks who don't want to be challenged, because I hear speeches all the time.
Oops.
Folks giving that don't believe that they are, because it's their opinion and it's their life story, or it's their experience. And that's okay. I want to hear their experience. I want to hear their views. And then it's just sometimes I've been in a club once that had a no religion rule, but then had a Christmas memories themed event. And I'm like, okay, that's like, let's pay attention to what we're talking about here.
Yes. Consistency is important. And, my home club is Early Risers, and you've come to visit us. I appreciate that very much. And I remember years ago, we had two folks in the club. Loved them both dearly, but both were diehard, sort of left leaning and right leaning, and they loved to argue with one another. It was really, really fun. And I think everybody appreciated that, in spite of the differences and how you think they're really mad at each other, they weren't. They had a underlying respect for each other. They just recognized that there are differences. I miss those guys. They left the club, unfortunately, not both at the same time. But pre-pandemic, we're still in my home club, we're doing online. And I've had comments from previous members who, want to see us get back in person. So is your Senate club, is that online or in person?
Yeah, we're 100% Zoom. Because the Senate is closed to visitors right now, except if they're escorted, and we can't escort folks in, we're going to stay online. We have a lot of Senate staffers who worked here and then have gone on to other jobs outside of DC. So the Zoom works really well for us. I've not been to too many hybrid clubs that I think work well for the people online as a connection. So I think we'll stay until the Capitol's open, and that's been a staffing issue. Just there's a number of Capitol Police who were injured after the insurrection or retired early just because they thought, I don't want to go through this again, and so the police haven't really staffed up.
So
unfortunately,
when does the Capitol reopen?
It's when they have.
Oops, lost
issue.
You. Your audio cut out. Can you repeat that?
Oh, yeah. The Capitol will reopen when they have enough police officers. It's a staffing issue.
I got you. So it's not open at all to the public right now.
It is.
Oh, okay. Are you having trouble with your audio?
I think I might be. Let me move for a second. I think the Capitol is will reopen when we have enough police officers.
Gotcha. Very good. Now, Lambda Linguists is also a club that's online. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100% online.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about that club. I know I have some friends that are in that club. We have mutual friends in that club. But I really don't know much about the club. So share with us what's going on with Lambda Linguists.
Well, we're, again, just an online club, 100% online, and we're affiliated with the Gay and Lesbian Chamber, the Lambda Business, and the Gay and Lesbian Center, which is where we used to meet in person, but now we're all online. We're a small club, about 8 members. And like the Senate Club, one of the reasons I joined Lambda is it encourages people to share messages that matter. If you're going to take the work to write a 5 to 7 minute speech and deliver it, it should be a message that really matters to you, whatever that is, without people policing your content. And it's also inclusive and supportive of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. And so that's one thing I like about it. And we're a strong club. We have 2 speeches, or at least, every 2 weeks. We meet Mondays online on Zoom at 6 p.m. the first and third Mondays. And one thing I like about both clubs, which I think ties back to our theme of democracy, is they're a place where we're creating our club culture together. We're all strangers. I'm in DC, they're in Nevada. One of our members in Lambda is up north in Reno. And that's one thing you do in democracy, is you're creating a community together. And in the club, okay, how are we going to operate? Who's going to take what roles? Everybody sort of has to step up. At one time you're leading the meeting and everybody else is a follower. And the next time you're following and everybody else is a leader. That goes back and forth, and I think that's a wonderful skill to develop too.
I do love the fact that you emphasize that the club builds its own culture.
Yeah.
And that culture is derived from each of the individual members who make a contribution to the club. And I think that's a very, very important aspect of a Toastmaster. I think when folks are looking for a club, and of course, I always want them to join mine, as we want the members, of course, as we all do. But I encourage folks who are new to Toastmasters to make sure that they take their time and pick a club that best meets their needs. And I'm not talking just about scheduling, but how is the culture? Visit the club a couple of times. Is this a place where you're going to feel comfortable and supported regardless of your views? And I think that's very important. I think I've seen a lot of folks who they don't find the club a good fit right away, so they become discouraged and they just sort of quit looking. and that's pretty sad, because the diversity that we talked about earlier within a club also includes in the Toastmasters community as a whole. Different clubs have different styles. I know when I was an area governor back in the day, or division governor, it's division director now, one of the clubs that I found really interesting was bachelors and bachelorettes. They're a little bit on the edge, I should say, but they've created their own culture, and they're a wonderful club. But up front, you need to know that they may be a little risque in some of their speeches or some of their table topics, which they don't even call table topics. I think they call them bedroom topics.
Oh my
gosh. But anyway, that culture that you seek, you don't give up. Keep looking for the culture that best matches your needs, and then also contribute to it, build it, because the thing about it is the culture changes within a club. I mean, there may be some underlying stability in some things, but as new people come, they bring something to the club that causes it to change in terms of its culture. And that's a good thing, because that allows us all to then grow.
And that's very true. And one thing I definitely wanted to raise is, one thing Toastmasters also gives you experiences in elections. And we all have experiences with referees and watching sports games and feeling like that wasn't a foul. Come on. But when you're in Toastmasters, there's actually speech competitions. There's tall tales and international speech and evaluation contests, table topics. And you can go and hear all these different contestants from lots of different clubs, all answering the same question. For example, in table topics, or evaluating the same speech in an evaluation contest, or giving their own speeches. And then you listen and you might think, okay, Ken totally won that. But then Carol wins and you're like, wait, no way Carol could win. But you get practice of losing, you get practice of being disappointed, you get great, huge, massive trophies if you win. Toastmasters loves their trophies, I'll tell you. But that's a really great skill to learn and to say, okay, these are the rules. These are the rules for each contest. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And it's part of the competition. And I think that's a wonderful experience for people to have as well.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's the aspect of competing in contests. When I first joined Toastmasters 15, 16 years ago, the notion of competing in a contest was like, I'm not going to do that. But after a few years in Toastmasters, I gained enough confidence that, okay, I'm going to try this. So I began competing, and it was one of the best things I ever did, because it not only helped to sharpen my speaking skills, it gave me an appreciation for the larger Toastmasters world. I didn't really have a concept of other clubs. I knew they were out there, but when you enter a contest and you win at the club, and then you compete at the area and the division and the district, you gain perspective along the way about what a really fantastic organizational structure there is within Toastmasters, supporting each and every club. So that's really how I got involved in district leadership. Of course, at the time, I have a DTM under the legacy program, and I knew you had to serve as a district officer, which I had to do as an area governor way back in the day. And the two folks who recruited me said, Ken, it's time for you to step up to the plate and be an area governor. And I said, okay, never imagining that I would end up moving on through division and now in district, having been a club growth director, now program quality, and maybe if I get elected next year to district director. It's been an amazing journey, and I can't emphasize enough how much I encourage all of our Toastmasters to become leaders, to step up to the plate, step outside your comfort zone, and become a district leader. It is incredibly rewarding and such an amazing learning experience. There's so many transferable skills that you learn in district leadership that apply to the real world, whether you're in business or you own your own company or whatever. Those skills, or even in just relationships, it's just amazing. Have you served beyond the club at this point, Carol?
No, someday I will, but I will say that you all in District 115 have wonderful leadership. I mean, Gene Williams is fantastic. This Wake Up with Toastmasters, what a commitment to 5 mornings a week to get up and do a talk at 6 a.m. That's amazing. And the game nights and the training every month, it's just on district. So folks are very lucky. For the folks in Southern Nevada and a little bit of Utah, they are very lucky.
Carol is Gene is very, very, you're Carol, I was going to Gene is a very creative person, and you're right. Wake Up with Toastmasters, I think, is a unique thing. It is early, but we share the responsibilities. As you know, Gene is on Mondays and Fridays. I'm on Tuesdays. Our club growth director, Scott Transu, is on Thursdays, and then on Wednesdays we have our Division D director and past public relations manager, Jennifer Smith. In fact, Jennifer is online right now on our Facebook page, chiming in. So she says, oh, thank you, Jennifer. She says, I will be district director. That's a vote of confidence that I appreciate coming from Jennifer, so thank you. But yeah, I think you're right. We are very, very lucky in our district. We have lots of room to grow, but we are now creating the kinds of traditions that make us unique. Nobody else has Wake Up with Toastmasters. I know a couple of other districts do have, they call them something different. You know, we have Educational Enrichment Night, which is the second Saturday of every month. That's 2 hours free. And we have different classes. Like this Saturday is Educational Enrichment. We're going to have new member orientation and introduction to pathways, 2 different classes there. And they're classes that are designed to supplement whatever the club is doing for orientation to their club and to pathways. Then we have something really exciting that I'm looking forward to from Nadia Gilks. Is she's going to be talking about how to create a podcast. Now, for anyone who's gone up to, like, I think it's in level 4 or 5, and looked at some of the projects that are out there, they're quite challenging. There's one on creating a social media presence, for example. There's one on creating a podcast. So it's quite challenging when you get to level 4, level 5, the electives. And Nadia is going to share with us how to create a podcast, which is something I've always been interested in, but just haven't done anything about. So now this is my opportunity. Also, we're going to have Jason Leduc. Jason is a distinguished Toastmaster and a retired military, and he is an entrepreneur. He's created his own company, and he's going to talk about setting goals for success. And I think that's important. All of us, and I know personally that I sometimes have a tendency to set a goal, set it on the shelf, and then kind of forget about it. No, yeah, I'm going to do that one of these days. It's sort of like your New Year's resolution. You make a resolution, that's a goal, but then you don't carry it out. So we're going to have a really, really good event coming up this Saturday, and we're going to have a Pathways Help Desk. This is something else that Jean helped create along with Dana Wall Oakley, who's manning that, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It is a Pathways Help Desk. If you're having issues with Pathways, she can help. She's very, very knowledgeable and very, very good at explaining. So we have a lot going on.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, so tell us then, your meetings at the Senate, I think it sounds intriguing. With your Senate Toastmasters and with Lambda. I really want to visit both. So hopefully we can do that. So again, can you tell us, is the Senate meeting open for visitors or what?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's Zoom. So it's an open club. Anybody can join, anybody can visit.
Okay, very good. And when do they meet?
Fridays, our next meeting is November 18th.
November
so
18th.
We meet various Fridays, usually second and fourth, but around November, December, we start moving everything around.
Because everybody's out of town for the
Right.
holidays. That's great. So on the second and fourth Friday at what time?
At 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Good time. That's 6 a.m. our time?
No, 9 a.m. your time. 9 a.m.
Oh,
your
9
time.
a.m. our time.
12 our time.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that. And what about Lambda?
That is first and third Mondays on Zoom at 6 p.m. Pacific time.
6 p.m. on the Zoom. Okay. Very good. So if anybody wants to attend, please let me know and I will make sure you get the link.
Yep.
I'll be in touch with Carol.
You can give both links. Our last night we met at Lambda and we had 2 ghost stories. I shared my Capitol Hill ghost story.
Oh,
and
nice.
Our member Carolyn had actually moved into a haunted house and shared her experience, which gave me chills. She had lots of very spooky things happen in that house.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I have to say I love these things at times around Halloween because of events like that. And you and I were at a Vegas Stars had a spooky story event, and that was a lot of fun. Well, we are about to wrap up here. It is 6:29. So are there any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience, Carol?
Well, I agree with you, Ken. I hope everybody goes and votes today and brings a couple of friends with you. And that Toastmasters gives you experience in how to work together to offer people to deliberate as equals and create a better collective club, just like democracy helps us deliberate as equals and create a better collective life. Thanks for having me, Ken.
It's been wonderful, Carol. I hope you'll come back and visit. I really appreciate having that perspective that you bring to the show. It's terrific. And I want to invite any of our Toastmasters who'd like to come on the show and talk about your club or your Toastmasters journey. We love that. We love to make this as interesting and educational as you can. I think there's a lot to learn from Carol's perspective on building community. And I echo your thoughts about let's get out and vote today. Regardless of your political persuasion, you have an obligation as a citizen to go and vote and make your vote count. So we're going to sign off now. So you can, the polls open here. It's now 6:30 here in Las Vegas, 6:30 a.m. It will, in 30 minutes, the polls will open. They'll be open until 7 p.m. But don't worry, if you're in line at 7 p.m., they will let you continue on to get you through the system. So vote as early as you can and make sure you exercise that most important of all our obligations, really, and rights as a democracy. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you next Tuesday on Wake Up with Toastmasters, or this Saturday, I'll see you on Educational Enrichment Night. Bye-bye. Okay.